Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're getting straight to the heart of workplace dynamics. Direct communication. You told us you need knowledge quickly and thoroughly, so we're diving into Judith C. Tingley's guide, Say What You Mean, Get What You Want. It's actually from 1996.
Yeah, a bit older, but still incredibly relevant.
Our mission is simple. Pull out the actionable insights, maybe a few surprises so you feel really informed, but, not overwhelmed.
Exactly. So whether you're prepping for a big meeting or just trying to fine-tune your communication skills.
Or maybe just curious about how things work better in the office.
Right. This guide, even from the mid-90s, offers some really valuable perspectives. It's like understanding the basic infrastructure of good communication.
Okay, so let's unpack that. Back in 96, Tingley was already saying assertiveness is key in U.S. business culture.
Yeah, the driver for results.
Seen as fundamental, especially now with flatter organizations, more teamwork. It's about building that solid foundation for how we connect, how we collaborate.
And what's really interesting, I think, is the historical bit she includes.
Oh, yeah.
She references a book from 1975, The New Assertive Woman. It highlighted this urgent need back then for women to claim really basic rights.
Like what?
Like expressing feelings, saying no, just being taken seriously. It's kind of surprising that a book like that was so necessary, just a few decades ago.
It really is. And by the 90s, things had shifted, but maybe not entirely. It wasn't just about women finding their voice anymore.
Right. The need for clearer communication was across the board. The book points out men often needed to maybe dial back aggressive styles.
Well, women, even if they were comfortable discussing feelings in personal life, sometimes struggled to be direct about needs or giving instructions at work.
And here's where it gets really interesting for today's workplace.
Yeah.
This idea that identifying, expressing, even just talking about feelings at work was becoming valuable for everyone.
That emotional communication piece.
Exactly. And that's only become more important since the book came out.
So the core idea, the main takeaway here.
Tingley's argument is that open, honest, direct communication, what she calls assertiveness, is really the bedrock. It's the foundation, even if you choose other techniques sometimes.
So knowing how to be assertive gives you the confidence to use other approaches.
Precisely. It's like having a strong core, athletically speaking. Even if you decide to be more subtle, knowing you can be direct gives you control. You choose intentionally instead of just, falling back on old habits.
Okay, so the book lays out this 7-step system. It's called the, Business Modus Operandi, or IMB MO.
IMB MO, yeah. It's kind of a structured way to tackle communication challenges. We're focusing on the workplace application today.
Right. So, step 1.
Decide what you want. Simple.
Simple.
But critical. You need a clear picture of your goal for the conversation. Like maybe telling a friend their sarcasm bothers you, or asking colleagues to solve their own problems first, or delegating clearly.
Or disagreeing without, starting a fight. Giving good feedback. Standing up for yourself.
Exactly. It all starts there. Define the objective.
Okay, step 2. Identify negative thinking. This is about that inner voice, right? The internal dialogue.
Yeah, that running commentary we all have. And it massively shapes how we communicate externally.
Yeah.
Recognizing it, whether it's loud or quiet, is key.
Tingley points out 3 main types of negative thinking that block communication.
3 big ones. First, the I'm not good enough voice. That's often about fear of being intimidated, losing control, whatever.
Okay.
Second is the why bother mindset, kind of resignation, feeling like nothing you do will make a difference anyway.
Been there. And the third?
The you're not okay script. That's the blame game, leads straight to aggression usually.
Right. And the book says you can actually change this negative self-talk. It's not fixed.
Absolutely. Shifting that internal narrative is what opens the door to communicating better externally, achieving those goals you set in step 1.
But it takes work, obviously. Breaking old habits.
For sure. It's not flipping a switch.
Yeah.
So the book gives methods. One is cognitive restructuring.
Okay, what's that involve?
Basically, consciously swapping out negative thoughts for neutral or positive ones. Like, instead of, I'm going to bomb this presentation, thinking, okay, I'm experienced, I'm prepared, I can handle this.
Even simple self-talk helps. Like, I have the right to say no.
Definitely. Tailoring those coping statements makes them more effective. I'm an equal here, one step at a time. Things like that.
Okay, what else besides restructural?
Reframing. Thinking differently about the situation or person to change how you feel and react.
Like the sales example, reframing no as a step towards yes.
Exactly. Or reframing blame. Maybe his intentions are okay, even if I don't like his approach. Or tackling why bother by focusing on feeling good about speaking up, no matter the outcome.
Then there's challenging the thoughts.
Right. Asking yourself, okay, what's really the worst that could happen? And then, could I actually handle that if it did?
Usually the worst case is less likely, and you realize you could handle it.
Often, yeah. It puts fear in perspective. And finally, for those really persistent negative loops, there's the stop technique.
Just mentally yelling, stop.
Pretty much. Interrupting the pattern. Consciously.
Okay, so you've worked on the inner game. Step 4 in the IMB MO is select a technique.
Yeah, this is about being proactive. Choosing how to communicate, not just reacting or staying quiet because it's easier in the moment.
And practice helps here. The book suggests scripting things out. Mirror practice.
Role-playing, too, maybe with a friend or colleague. Trying out the other person's side can give you really valuable perspective.
Then step 5 is implement technique. Just doing it.
Basically, yeah. Take action. Visualize success first. See yourself saying no confidently or delegating clearly.
And expect it won't be perfect the first time.
Definitely. Start small. Lower stakes situations, less intimidating people. Build up successes.
Okay, step 6 is reward yourself.
Simple acknowledgement. Pat on the back. Recognizing you tried something new.
And finally, step 7. Evaluate your effectiveness.
Look back. How did it go? Did you get what you wanted? Maybe ask for feedback if it's appropriate. Note what worked, what didn't.
Like a next time I'll try.
Yeah.
Mindset.
Exactly. Learn from it. Don't beat yourself up. It's a process. That whole IMB MO is about being deliberate, from inside your head to the outside world and back again.
It's a really solid framework. Okay, let's dig into some of those specific techniques you might select in step 4. The book really emphasizes being brief and specific.
Huge impact. Simple idea, big difference, concise communication. It gets heard, it gets understood, people take you more seriously.
And you don't give people extra info to use against you later.
Right. Think about asking for a report tweak. Rambling vaguely versus saying, I need the sales figures broken down by region on page 2 by Friday. Much clearer.
Clarity makes a huge difference. And tied to that is using I statements.
Starting with I. Takes ownership, avoids sounding like you're making grand, vague pronouncements or blaming someone.
So instead of that report is wrong, maybe I noticed a discrepancy in these figures, or I see it differently.
Exactly. It's about your perspective, your feeling, your thought. Less defensive for the other person.
And building on that is telling what you want. That's the 3-parter.
Yeah. I feel emotion when you query one specific behavior, and I want clear request.
Okay, break that down. Why feelings?
Feelings are harder to argue with than opinions. I feel frustrated is different than you're being difficult.
And specific behavior, not labels.
Right. When you interrupt me in meetings is better than when you're rude. Less judgment, less defensiveness.
And then clearly state the want. I'd like to finish my point. I prefer we stick to the agenda.
Makes it actionable. The book gives examples like addressing unwanted hugs, asking for clearer presentations, needing stats to back things up. It's very versatile.
Okay, let's talk about saying no. Always tricky.
Can be, yeah. The book says avoid long excuses. They often sound weak or invite argument.
So the simple way.
Start with no, then maybe one brief reason. No, I can't take on that project right now. My plate is full.
And then the broken record technique comes in.
If they push, yeah. Calmly repeat your refusal. As I said, I'm not available this weekend. It just doesn't work for me right now. Don't get drawn into defending it over and over.
Okay. What about fogging? That sounds interesting.
It is. It's a way to handle criticism without getting defensive or necessarily agreeing to change. You acknowledge there might be some truth in what you're saying.
How does that work?
If someone says, you need to think more strategically, you might respond, you're right, I could probably be a better strategic thinker than I am.
You're not saying I'm a terrible strategic thinker.
Exactly. You're just acknowledging their point partially. It often stops the criticism in its tracks because you're not fighting it. But the book warns, don't use it if it feels dishonest.
Like selling your soul. Yeah.
Right. And you can phrase it positively, too. I could be more attentive instead of, I guess I'm not a good listener.
We mentioned broken record for saying no. Where else is it used?
Calmly repeating your point in lots of situations. Intercepting those indirect hits we'll talk about later. Just staying on message without getting derailed by arguments.
Okay. And lastly here, the assertive no as initiator. This is proactive.
Yeah, instead of waiting to be asked something you know you'll say no to, you initiate. You set the boundary up front.
Like telling your boss ahead of time, just so you know, I can manage my current workload, but won't be able to take on overtime for the next month.
Exactly. Gives you more control, better timing. often gets more respect for your limits, too.
That feels empowering. Okay, let's shift to speaking up and speaking out. This is a big one for a lot of people.
Huge. Those meeting scenarios, ideas ignored, getting interrupted, someone else gets credit. So frustrating.
And that can make you just clam up next time.
Totally understandable. But then look at who does speak up. They're often seen as knowledgeable, in control, right? Even without formal power.
They speak early, jump in often.
So using the IMB MO here, step 1, decide what you want. Maybe just, I want people to understand my view, or I want to be respected. Set a small goal. I'll state one opinion in the next meeting.
And then notice the negative thoughts. They'll think I'm pushy, he's the boss, what's the point?
All those usual suspects. Or, if you're more aggressive, maybe the thought is just about bulldozing your point across. You need to manage that too.
So, strategies. Cognitive restructuring again. My perspective is valuable.
Yep. Challenge the thoughts too. Worst case, they disagree. Okay, I can handle disagreement. The likelihood of disaster is usually low.
And for selecting a technique.
Focus on saying something early. Even just, I agree, it breaks the ice for you. Maybe speak a bit louder, change your tempo slightly, stand up if appropriate. Small tweaks.
And the core tools. Brief and specific I statements.
Crucial. Cut the apologies. Sorry, maybe this is dumb, but no. Get to the point. State your thought, want, or feeling clearly.
Don't feel you have to defend it right away. Keep things moving.
Right. Telling what you want works here too. And fogging or negative inquiry can help you stay in the conversation if there's disagreement without being confrontational.
The bottom line is, silence makes you invisible.
Pretty much. Get comfortable speaking up, even briefly. Do it often. It builds impact.
Okay, next up. Telling it like it is giving feedback, both positive and negative.
Super important skill.
Yeah.
But most people, Tingley says, dread giving negative feedback. Except maybe the blaming types.
Why the dread, fear of the reaction, blowing things up?
Yeah, fear of catastrophic outcomes. So what happens? People delay, or they hint, or they sandwich it awkwardly. Rarely works well.
And delaying means you end up addressing something that's been going on for ages.
Exactly. Makes it way harder. The book has this tough example of Gregor delaying feedback to Sean, leading to this awful performance review. Bad for Sean, bad for Gregor, bad for the company.
So the alternative is routine feedback.
Routine, specific, concise, frequent. Both positive and negative. And she stresses, we often forget the positive feedback. Big missed opportunity.
So, applying the IMB MO to feedback. Goal setting first. I want to give Sean specific feedback on his report timeliness by Friday.
Yep. Then identify your own negative thinking about giving the feedback. He'll get angry. I hate confrontation.
And use reframing. How?
Reframe it as helping. This feedback will help Sean improve, or this helps our team function better. Instead of seeing it as just an unpleasant chore, Gregor could have reframed it as part of his responsibility to Sean.
And the recommended technique for giving the feedback.
Telling what you want comes up again. It's structured, specific, focuses on behavior, not labels, makes you think about the why, and ends constructively.
Got example?
Sure, for negative. I feel concerned when reports are late because it impacts the team's deadlines, and I want you to meet the agreed-upon timelines going forward. Or for positive, I was really impressed when you handled that difficult client so calmly, and I want you to know I appreciate your professionalism.
Can you use simpler I statements too?
Absolutely. Sometimes just, I'm concerned about the tone of your recent emails is enough to start the conversation.
Okay, let's tackle something trickier. Intercepting the indirect hit. Passive aggression.
Ugh, yeah. Sometimes harder than direct aggression.
Yeah.
That comment, how did you enjoy your 2-hour lunch? Said with that tone.
Right. The words are innocent, the delivery's loaded. If they just said, you took too long for lunch, you could deal with it directly.
Exactly. These mixed messages, words say one thing, tone body language says another. They're confusing. You feel criticized, but then you doubt yourself. Was I imagining it?
So how do you deal with it?
First, recognize the mismatch. Trust your gut feeling. Then, apply the IMB MO. Spot the pattern. Don't overthink why they're doing it. Just decide how to respond. Substitute negative thoughts. Am I too sensitive? With instructions. Okay, how will I handle this?
What techniques work?
One way is a simple I statement answering the literal question. 2, are you okay? You look exhausted. Just say, I'm fine, thanks. End it there. Don't bite.
Or be more direct.
Yes, use telling what you want, maybe followed by broken record. To the lunch comment. I feel criticized when my lunch break length is mentioned indirectly. If you have a concern about my time, I'd prefer you ask me directly.
And if they deny it? Just kidding. So sensitive.
Stick to your guns with broken record. I understand. Still, I'd appreciate you telling me directly if there's a problem.
Mm.
The goal is proving them wrong. It's stopping the pattern.
You could use fogging or negative inquiry too, right? Just quick ways out.
Quick exits without escalating.
All right, let's talk about wanting to be taken seriously. Common concern, especially for newer folks, younger people, women in male-dominated fields.
Definitely. Serious, meaning earnest, thoughtful, sincere. Being treated with respect.
Tingley says there are two parts: behaving seriously yourself and others treating you that way. You have more control over the first part.
Right. She gives the example of Makisha, newly promoted, facing that wait-and-see vibe. Her attempts to assert herself were sometimes misinterpreted. Understanding the office politics, or lack thereof, played a role too.
So addressing this needs more than just one technique. It's about managing your mindset and having a plan.
Yeah, reducing negative self-talk is key. I'm handling this well. Keep focused. And reframing can help.
How so?
Viewing it as a kind of temporary hazing or initiation can make it feel less personal. Focus on the probability you will eventually be accepted if you stay consistent and professional.
What about specific communication techniques?
Using precise language can help. Maybe slightly more formal words sometimes, avoiding tired buzzwords. It subtly boosts perception of competence.
And eliminate disclaimers and apologies again.
Absolutely. Don't start with, maybe I should know this, but it weakens your stance. And reduce details. Speak concisely. Less rambly, more confidence.
Avoid sounding like you're boasting about past wins.
Yeah, focus I statements on the current problem and your proposed solution, not just, well, back at my old job.
What if you get the been there, done that pushback?
Healthy thinking first. Okay, I can handle this. Then decide. Let it go. Use broken record to restate your point calmly. Use fogging. I probably could find a more original approach, but let's explore this angle first.
And telling what you want if you feel consistently dismissed.
Yes. I feel frustrated when my ideas are dismissed without discussion. I'd appreciate some specific feedback. Or, if ignored, I feel isolated when my comments get no response. I'd appreciate even just a quick acknowledgement. Maybe use a bit of humor.
Seeking support from others helps too.
Definitely. Find allies who've been through it.
Okay, brace yourselves. Surviving the aggressive attack. Dealing with the loud, hostile types.
Yeah, challenging stuff. Often predictable outbursts from certain people.
The book paints a profile. Often male boss type, always right, position justifies behavior, sees aggression as honest or strong.
That's the stereotype presented.
Yeah.
Often little awareness of their impact. The example of Sam yelling at Neil and Glenda, booming voice, insults, threats, just shuts down communication.
So your internal reaction is key. Fear, anxiety are normal. My heart's pounding, I can't deal with this.
Right. Or maybe if you're more aggressive yourself, your thought is just, there goes Sam being an asshole again. You need to manage that internal state first.
And techniques. Direct assertiveness might backfire here.
Often, yes. Indirect influence can be better. First, eliminate apologies and disclaimers. Don't feed the fire.
Use fogging.
Can work well. Acknowledge potential truth to de-escalate. You think I'm too detail-oriented. I do sometimes overlook the big picture. Buys time, avoids defensiveness.
Negative inquiry. Ask questions.
Yeah. Shift focus. To insults about incompetence, what most concerns you about us giving the wrong information? Get them talking about the issue, not just attacking.
What about the content to process shift?
That's moving from what you're arguing about to how you're communicating. I'm finding it hard to talk productively when the tone is like this. Can we discuss this calmly?
And maybe telling what you want, but with teeth.
Possibly. State your need clearly. I want to finish what I'm saying. And if needed, add a consequence. If the interruptions continue, I'll need to leave this meeting and we can reschedule. Can actually gain respect sometimes. Sets a clear boundary.
Wow, okay. To pull it all together, the book gives a day-in-the-life example.
Yeah, it walks you through a typical workday, showing how someone uses these techniques, IMB MO, the specific tools, as both initiator and responder.
Like managing anxiety before a meeting, using substitute, challenge, stop.
Or addressing a late team member using telling what you want and broken record.
Changing a meeting format, handling an angry customer with brief professional language.
Setting boundaries about availability. Navigating a tricky meeting with the boss, using reframing and I statements, even handling those little indirect hits from colleagues.
It makes it really practical, seeing it all in action throughout a single day.
Exactly. Shows how consistent, thoughtful communication makes a real difference.
So you've learned all this, you're practicing. What's next? How does this change things long term?
Well, first, expect to feel pretty good. Giving up being non-assertive saves a lot of energy. Less worrying, less overthinking, It's freeing.
And maybe you overdo it at first.
Could happen. Little overcompensation as you find your footing with new habits, that's normal.
And what about how others react? They're used to the old you.
Right. Established patterns and relationships might take time to shift. They need to adjust too. The book gives an example. If Tanya starts responding differently, Kareem has to adapt.
Having a buddy helps. Someone else learning this stuff.
Huge benefit for support, practice, coaching, celebrating wins. And remember, these are skills. They are changeable. It's ongoing improvement.
And the ultimate goal is being able to choose your style.
Exactly. Sometimes being less direct is the better strategy, especially with really resistant or hostile people. Assertiveness is the foundation, but you learn to pick the right tool for the job.
And crucially, don't take their reactions personally.
So important. Manage your own self-talk. Reinforce the positive when you handle things well. Cope with stress. Pat yourself on the back.
Those self-support statements are key for resilience. Okay, so as we wrap this deep dive, we really hope you, listening, feel better equipped now, more empowered with these direct communication strategies.
Yeah, take a moment. Think about which techniques, which ideas really clicked with your own experiences, your own challenges.
Maybe explore Tingley's book more, or really focus on practicing one or two techniques that seem most useful for you right now.
Remember, communicating with intention, with clarity, with confidence, that's a skill. And it's one that pays off. It helps you get more of what you want and need at work.
Absolutely. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.